So, good evening, good people. Good evening, good evening. This is Ringold, and I am the host of We Need to Talk 23. And joining me this evening is 80 Empire. And before they introduce themselves, the song that you hear playing in the background is "We Run Shit" featuring KRS-One. And just to give you a little rundown for those of you that may not know 80 Empires, they've collabed with some of the greats and some of the up and comers out there. They've collabed with Sizzla, Kurupt, Fred the Godson, Yukmouth, Dub C, Lazy Bone, DMC, Jadakiss, King Crooked, Graph, Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher, and as I said, the song you just heard with KRS-One. So, gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Good man,
Good,
good
man.
man.
Thank you
Good
for
to be
having
here.
us. Yeah.
Only thing I wish we were with you at the bar there, but good to be with you
Yeah.
virtually.
Hey, soon as Corona slows down, I plan on doing a
Oh,
lot
man.
more in-person
def-
interviews.
Definitely, man. And we're in Niagara, so we're what, maybe
We're right by the border. man.
six and a half hours away. It's not a long drive.
Oh, 6.5? Oh, yeah,
That's not too
definitely
bad.
not bad. Definitely.
Yeah.
If I can drive to Florida, I can drive 6 hours.
Yeah.
There, exactly.
So to start, for those that may not know you, who is 80 Empire?
Yeah, we're two brothers, Adrian, Lucas, singer, songwriter, producer, artist. Everybody starts off as an artist, but as you get older, you kind of, we like to say we age like fine wine, and we just got heavy into production and writing music for people. And then for the past 3 years, really like when even before the pandemic started, we really went back to our roots and said, man, let's start putting out hip hop albums because we come from hip hop. And that's it, man. And we've been having fun ever since. Even despite, I got COVID last year. Last year.
Last year.
In May, I was hospitalized for a month. So that first record, We Run Shit, I actually wrapped that with a collapsed lung when I got out of the hospital in June. So that's why I'm like, even with a collapsed lung, I am more magnificent at the end.
Okay.
But it's just like I had to push myself, man. And even though I was in pain and my voice was like, I'm like, I have to find that like strength. It sounds cliche, but I had to find that strength within and say, yo, like, this is like, I went through something horrible. There's people that go through worse. We got to move on and fight the good fight, you know?
I mean, definitely. I hate to say congrats, but congrats on making it out. A month in the
Yeah.
hospital for a lot of people is, a lot of times a death sentence. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's spooky, man. I was in there a month. It's spooky. Like the first week, I said to my wife, I was seeing like in Harry Potter when he sees those like fluttery things in the sky come.
Yeah.
And my wife and
The Death Raider.
yeah, everybody thought I was full of shit, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I feel like the first week I was there, I was seeing those things, and I was just literally in the hospital talking to myself and saying, like, screw you, COVID. Like I'm gonna beat you. Like I had to talk out loud. I'm sure the nurses thought I was nuts. And then like all my family was my rock, my wife, my kids. Like me wanting to get out is I wanted to see my daughters again and my wife. And then my brother really was my rock, and he'd like, fight, man, fight.
You are my rock.
And yeah, man, and like music got me through. It sounds funny too, but like, like listening to Snoop and Dr. Dre, Nipsey, Hustle, like all my life, grinding all my life. Like I was like, pay the price. I had to pay the price. Like I'm like walking as if I'm like 90 years old to take a piss and like from my hospital bed, and I'm like, all my life. Yeah, listening to that, I'm like, I have to fight, man. And then I made like a gangster soul playlist of all like the shy lights and the stylistics, the dramatics. I was listening to that and all the gangster rap. Like those were my go-tos. And then at night, I was listening to like jazzy hip hop.
Okay. So a lot of Gangstar and Premiere and things like that.
Yeah,
Tribe.
absolutely.
Okay. So what in the beginning, what got you all interested in hip hop? Was it just something that you grew up on, or is it something that you tried and realized that you all had the gift to do it?
It was a combination of our parents.
Yeah.
Our parents, like our background is Italian, but
Okay.
our parents like loved soul music and funk music and so as the years progressed, when kind of hip hop started and you know, our dad is I mean, he's kind of retired now, but he still cuts hair. He's a hairdresser. And when you, there's an area in Toronto, Eglinton Avenue West, a lot of West Indian culture, food,
real Caribbean neighborhood.
Right. And there was a place there called Monica's where you could get hair product, you know, beef patties.
And she was a Jamaican singer in Jamaica, Monica.
Yeah. And records. So our dad after work would go to this place and pick up records that you couldn't find at like the main, you know, the kind of the malls, right? And you know, so he would go there and buy all this, you know, this hip hop. So as kids, my dad would bring home these 45s and these LPs, and we were like, you know, we were hearing like KRS-Ones and Big Daddy Kane's and all this kind of stuff, and we were just kind of, you know, and
I think Beat Street too.
Yeah, and then you know, we were blown away by the music. And then
like we were Kenny and Lee growing up.
Yeah,
you know,
from
like,
Beat Street. If anybody knows Beat Street, like, you know, funny enough, I was playing Beat Street Breakdown like just 3 days ago while we were eating dinner. I was, you know, playing it for the kids, and I went, and don't be a slave to no computer. And I said, this shit was like in the 80s, you know, and I go, that's what we are today.
You got to sample that. Like now that you said that,
you know, like wherever, you know,
that's a chorus right there.
Yeah, because I said to the kids, you know, like, you know, so, you know, that was like our parents took us to see Beat Street. And as kids, we were babies, and we were like, we were just mesmerized by the culture.
And you know what, like, obviously, like, listen, to me, like, some of the greatest music of, like, you know,
history of music,
like, started in the Black community. You know, it really did. Like, anybody who's lived, to me, in the past, like, 60, 70 years and does any type of music, in like, especially like in the Western world, whether it be like in North America, you know, like North America to South America to Europe, you know, and even Africa as well. But like the Western countries, like there's no way that you can do any type of music and say that you weren't influenced by Black culture, because rock and roll came from the Black community, gospel music from the Black community, even bloody country music came from the Black community. Like everything did. All the Latin music comes from the Black community, you know, like because of all the use of the percussion and the drums, which originally come from, like, you know, a lot of the drums, especially from Western Africa, is heavy in, you know, Latino music and stuff. So yeah, man, we were just really, our parents were really influenced by Black culture, and then they passed that love for Black culture to us, you know, and we were in love with it since kids, man.
Then my next question for you, it's sort of a two-part, but I'll start here. So, who fell in love with it first, and who had to be pushed into it?
You know, that's a really good question.
Yeah, no one's ever asked
that. I think because we're so close in age, I'm 2 years older than Lucas, but we were always like thick as thieves, you know, and we really were like Kenny and Lee, you know, and so we really like, and because our parents, they really raised us, like, even though they knew we had different strengths, like even academically going to school, you know what I mean? Or like, but they always like treated us equally. So everything we did, it wasn't like because I'm 2 years older, I'm getting, like, Dad was just like, I'm going to take Adrian to see Beat Street before Luke because he's in the 3rd grade and Luke's only in kindergarten or the 1st grade. Like, we did everything together. And so it just happened. It's funny, like, we call ourselves the rap Bert and Ernie because it's like, we're just like, everything is all together. Like,
but we don't take baths together anymore at this age. That, I think our wives would be like, yo, what? Like, what the fuck's going on? You know, honey, we're recording in here. No, but he's right. But you know, I think it plays off to now that we're older, why we've always been able to work together so easily. Like, sure, we have our fights, but we're brothers. But because he's the rapper, he's the singer, he's the songwriter. I play keys. You know, I played piano for so many years, and then I'm the physical producer. So we both, you know, Adrian doesn't. He'll give me ideas. You know, he'll sing an idea and want me to, you know, play it, or I'll give him a melody idea or you know, or something. But we have our strengths that we keep to. So, you know, and he knows, like when he comes with an idea, I'll start putting something together, or vice versa. So we both have our like superpowers, you know. If we're the Avengers,
kind of like ping pong, you know, it's like we go back and forth.
It's like the Avengers or the Justice League, you know. He's this character and I'm this character, and we come together and we know our roles.
Okay. So, with that being said, then do either of you or together, do you remember your first rap?
You know what's funny? I do. I do. It goes, how's it go? The Master of Disaster and TKO. You know, we're gonna rock your funky soul. And the girls are having a love affair in the school, in the park, everywhere. So you can see like how it's just like we grew up in the 80s, the 90s. It's like that. But yeah, that was the beat. No.
We should resurrect it.
You know,
Definitely should.
yeah, but yeah, man, that's how long we've been doing it. And again, when my brother said like dad would come home with records, like we would play those records, you know, in the family room or in the basement, and then we would just go nuts dancing. It's like you're gonna laugh at this. Like in the 8th grade, I went to school as Morris Day for Halloween. So like because my hair is like curly like Morris Day, you know, like especially on the top, it was like that, short and the curls, and I had this kind of like not a pink suit, but it was like something like Morris Day, you know, and then you know, but like even my teachers back then didn't even know who that was.
We lived in like at the time of that time we were in an all Italian neighborhood because we kind of moved around like, but at this time we were in an all Italian neighborhood, so all these, you know, everybody's wearing princess costumes, Halloween, this Spider-Man, like no different than today, and this guy's going oblio, you know, trying to show you. Like, people are like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, like yeah.
So then my next question is, so who carried the mirror for you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say
probably me.
We have a picture where
I think we have a picture somewhere where
you know, it's a TBT somewhere on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's doing all stuff with rappers, man. He just Morris Day just put out a record, I think, with Big Daddy Kane. He has what's that? Trinidad James on a record. Yeah, like he's, you know, yeah.
Music carries on forever, you know.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason, they like to bury, you know, a hip hop artist after, you know, 10, 15 years in the game. But, you know, all the other genres carry on forever. So I don't see why hip hop can't.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what, man, just to add to your point there, it's like, it's funny. I said with this pandemic, I feel like the tide has turned because what Timberland, I've said this before, but what Swiss Beats and Timberland has done with that Versus has opened up, you know, kids who think that rap is just trap, mumble, you know, drink codeine and get high in your own shit, and you know the Buckleys in your you know, in your medicine cabinets. You know, they're seeing all this real hip hop from the Locks to Raekwon and Ghostface to Method Man to KRS and Big Daddy Kane to you know, Fat Joe, and a younger.
Sorry, that Versus, I have to cut you off.
Which one?
The Locks against Dipset. That to me
was bananas. But that was hip hop, and they kept it crazy. Yeah,
in its purest form. It really in its purest form.
Exactly. Locks he's like no, all day, no neighbors, and then you hear Cameron getting so pissed. Yo, like it was just like that's
why we fell in love with hip hop, you know, and to see that. But then to see kids the next day talking about it who were like 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, 25-year-olds, like our partner, shout out to Will, his son is 17 and he's coming into the house like, Dad, have you heard this song before? And he's like, have I heard that song? It's Master Ace. Of course I've heard Master Ace. So, you know, and he goes, all his friends now are listening to boom bap hip hop. So I think it's the you know, cycles come back. Like I think people are kind of going, nah, we need some real music, but you're right. Like when you look at when you look at rock groups, a young rock group to work with a, you know, Metallica or Led Zeppelin or a U2 or a you know, Rolling Stones, Pearl Jam, whatever, is like an honor. Same with reggaeton or salsa. Yeah. But you're right. In hip hop, it's like, nah, I'm not messing with those old heads. Well, those are the pioneers that can still rock a stage. And still get more people out to watch them.
You know what I think a lot of it is too, because, and I've never actually said this out loud, but I think a lot of it has to do with, because hip hop music is so immersed also in fashion. Yeah. People also look at fashion like, you know, at a certain age, you can't wear like ripped jeans. Rockers have been wearing that since they were 13 until they're 80 years old. But it's just like, you know, Air Force Ones or the latest kicks or the latest fashions. Like people are going to look at a 50-year-old or a 40-year-old and go, you look like a clown dressed like that. And I think that's part of why, like, hip hop, you know, the youth kind of like to say, yo, this is our thing, even though they don't understand that before it was your thing, it was our thing. And before it was our thing, it was his thing, you know? And that's, I think, what I think, because blues is not like that. Jazz is not like that. You know, like a young jazz cat will be so, I mean, a young jazz cat would have been honored if Dizzy Gillespie or, you know, Coltrane or Miles Davis would have jumped on one of the records. They wouldn't go, yo, that's an old hand. I don't like, he plays trumpet. That shit's old school. No, they would have jumped at the chance, because as a jazz artist, you could dress as anything you want. Hip hop is so kind of like, it's in a way niche. Like if you're a hip hop artist, the way it was, like, you kind of have to fit the mold. You got to look like this or dress like that. And I think that's kind of, that kind of way of thinking is kind of rubbed off on people thinking, yo, it's just a young kid's music. No, man, it's just, music is music, and like age is just a number, you know?
Yeah. And I think with, and a lot of people like to say, you know, hip hop was on its way back, but I will give full credit to, yes, it was the Locks versus Dipset. I would give full credit to Jadakiss and say what he did, I believe it bridged the gap between the generations. Because like you said, a lot of kids, I heard a lot of kids the next day, they were just amazed by what Jadakiss did and talking about, is this new? No, that came out in 97, 98. You know, when we were in high school and stuff. So it's just like, none of that is new. That's just how nice he is with his flow, his stage presence and everything. And I think that's something that a lot of artists today are missing. They're missing the stage presence. They go out on the stage, they're high on lean, or they just want to stand in front of the mic. But then you get somebody like Jadakiss that's going to give you, you know, the battle rap and different things like that. So I think that that versus it is the best one. There's like two others that I think are up there with it, but they're on the one is on the R&B side. But I think that, you know, what Jadakiss did really helped bridge the gap more or less between our generation of rap and this generation of rap.
Let me ask you, man, which R&B, because we love R&B music too, which R&B one and which other ones did you think that were, because I've watched them all.
I think the one that was too early and didn't get the credit that it deserved was Neo and Jonte Austin. I love R&B, and to sit there, I didn't know who Jonte Austin was. I knew the name, but I didn't know that he wrote as many hits as he did. And I think it just came out way too early, so it didn't get the buzz and notoriety that it did. And then Beanie Man and Bounty Killer, I think that was
a great one.
A great one. So I think those three are, to me, I was ahead of all of the others.
But you're right though, because there's some like I'd like to see Snoop to do one again now that you can have a concert.
Yeah.
You know, because he did it with DMX, you know, rest in peace, and that was in a studio. Like if DMX was still alive, he would have destroyed a live, because he also would have jumped up there with the Locks. He would have heard Rough Rider shit, and he would have come up and the whole place would have just went bananas. So I don't think they had a chance to, you know. I mean, I know Busta, everybody keeps talking about, you know, like I saw this funny thing, like Kodak Black said, you know, I do it with Jay-Z, and if he wins, he could take 15% of my publishing. I'm like, dude, go sit down. Like, who are you? Like, at the end of the day,
we also live in a world where it's not just the music. Like, you need to have headlines have always sold music. Like the East Coast, West Coast beef with Pac and Biggie and, you know, Death Row and Bad Boy, that helped to sell headlines. But right now it's just like you have to have something else. Like you have to have a beef on Twitter. You got to have some stupid thing that you did on TikTok to have relevancy. And it's that's just Kodak Black trying to, I think, just to keep himself relevant. Because then a couple of days after that, there was a tweet by Drake saying, yo, like, I think he's one of the most slept on artists, something like that. Like, Drake did a tweet about Kodak Black that he's like the most relevant artist of this generation. Like, Jesus, you know.
It's just, at this point, it's just trolling. It's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So as far as hip hop go, so at what point did you all get serious about it and And what were your parents feeling about it? Because I know a lot of, it doesn't matter whatever your craft is. Like for me, for example, when I went to college, I was an English major. Not because I wanted to teach English in school or anything. I just loved to write. And I had a lot of people telling me like, writers don't make a lot of money and different things like that. So at what point did you all take it serious, and what was your parents' reaction?
I think in our teens, early 20s, we took it serious, and our parents were always supportive. They're like, as
Mhm.
long as you're productive, you know, and you guys are able to take care of your families
Mhm.
and stuff like that. They're like, we give you, like we support you guys. So we're very lucky, man, especially growing up Italian. Like, sometimes stereotypes about cultures, there could be some truth in it. Like there are some truths about like Italians, like, the old mother going, hey, no, you stupid. But like we were lucky. Our parents were very like, they were both born in Italy. They
Mhm.
came here at a very young age. My mom
Okay.
was very young, like a baby. My dad came here when he was a teenager. Our dad came here when he was a teenager. But they were very like loving of the arts and
Okay.
very artsy. So for them, like it wasn't like like frowned upon that we were doing this.
No, they were like, go to school,
Yeah.
go to college, university,
Mhm.
and and play that gig on a Tuesday night, but make sure your ass is in class the next day. If your class starts at 8:30, make sure you're there. Or if the class starts at 10, make sure you're there. But if
Mhm.
you have the gig that night, do the gig, then get your shit, come home,
Yeah.
get some rest as much as you can, finish your, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's like try to balance it. But they were always like, our dad, when we were teenagers, was booking us gigs.
Okay.
We did a gig when we were in high school, and it in this trendy area of Toronto called Yorkville. Now it's even more popular because of the Drakes and stuff like that. But it's always been a fashion kind of area of Toronto.
Mhm.
And we played as teenagers by this rock.
It'd be like the equivalent of going to like Fifth Avenue in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a little like a little like park area where they had music in the park kind of thing in the summer. So we got this gig, and Forrest Whitaker was in town because they shoot a lot of movies in Toronto. He
Yeah.
was in town reading a script, shooting a movie, and he sat down for like almost 2 hours watching our set,
Wow.
and he a girl came to pick him up, and then he bolted literally on our last song. We were so upset because we were like,
We wanted to go
we
up
wanted
to
to go up to him. And the guys in the band, God bless them, like old high school friends, they were looking at the girls walking by.
But like
You
we
know,
were like
we were like
geeked out. We're like,
Yeah.
this is Forrest Whitaker, man.
Yeah, he played Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
He's a musician himself. He's an actor. He's in the arts. Like for us, we were like, so we knew at a young age already that this was more than just like, yo, I want to play, in a band, pick up girls, kind of do my thing in high school, look cool. For us, it was like, we really want to take
It's a lifestyle.
the lifestyle. We want to make this a career, So thank God our wives fed into the bullshit of that. My wife's still like, so?
So then, at what point did you all feel like you made it? Not what tabloids, media, anything like that. At
Yeah.
what point did you all feel like you made it?
You know what? I think we still don't feel like we've made it, and that's
Okay.
not to discount. That's not to discount because we've done a lot of incredible things, and we've worked with we platinum, and we've been on Billboard for stuff we've done for people, and blah blah blah. But I think we still feel like we haven't made it. Like we've made it as we've made it as human beings. We've made it as fathers, and we've made it in music too because we've accomplished a lot of things. But I think like with our goals and what we're trying to do right now, and like navigating through this new world that's been unleashed onto us all, like I still think there's a couple of things that we want to solidify to kind of say. And I think then once we achieve that, because I know that we will, I think then we still probably will say, no, we still, because that's just in our DNA. Like we're always striving to be better because you never stop growing, you never stop learning. And I think if you get set in your ways, it just, you become stagnant. So there's a couple of things like really, I mean, we have this indie label Gladiator Records, but we really want it to become a force to be reckoned with. Like we'd love to say like 2 to 5 to 10 years down the stretch that we became one of the biggest like independent hip hop labels out of Canada.
Okay.
You know, because yeah, there's OVO and stuff, but OVO to me is an American company. Drake got his success in America. Yeah, his foundation is here, but his father's American, his mother's Canadian. He grew up here, but every ounce of, we know people that were like shit on Drake, said he was corny, and then when he made it, they, oh, yo, man, yo, Drake. And then they're like, you know, TBT, a picture with Drake. But like 2 years before he really popped off, they're like, yo, man, he's whack. That light-skinned dude, you know, he played the
wheelchair.
Yo, you know, like we know so many guys like that. And now they're like, you know, now they wish that they were
now at least once a month, hashtag TBT is the same photo they have with Drake from
like 15 years ago.
2009, 2010.
But what those guys have done, they've done something remarkable and that cannot be copied. They did something that is like international, incredible, and hats off to them. And we have a lot of respect for that camp. With us, you know, we do our music's like it's different, and so what we're doing is a little different, and so for us, like already in a short amount of time, we've amassed a large catalog that we all own of music we produce with people. And like we saw having a publishing deal with Universal, you know, we really saw like, you think that a publishing deal or a record label or a manager or an agent is going to save you. The only person who's going to save you is you. So that's why we developed this company, and we're like this, like we're the artists, but we have all these different artists on the label. They're not signed to us but they're on our records, which whatever the situation is, whether it's a handshake or whether it's a homie that, yo, I'm gonna jump on a verse for you, man, because y'all a family, or whether it's how much to get a verse from this person. And, you know, once the transaction is done, whether it's a handshake or a financial agreement is come up to, we own all these songs. So now if we have a record with Conway the Machine, we have the right to put it in a video game. We have a right to put it in the movie. You know what I mean? Whether he's going to rep it or not, because you know, an exchange was thing, and now we can look back and say, oh my God, we have records with all these people that, okay, now it's just not a song that never went anywhere or was a B record on someone's album, or, you know, because we live in such a singles driven and fast food market, no one even knows about it. We can go pull from that and go, wait, there's an independent film. What, they want something like, they want that kind of grimy hip hop. Well, yo, we got 2 records with Benny. We got a song with Conway. We got a record with this cat, you know? And so that's really our goal, man. We really want this to become Gladiator Records, to become like, yo, man, you guys really did it. As far as an independent label and that, like that real hip hop shit, you guys really did it, you know?
So have you, with the success of, you know, Drake and OVO and things like that, has, you know, any record label, even with Universal and things like that, has it ever been any pressure from the record labels or anything like, all right, you know, Drake is doing this, you all are from Canada also, can you do something similar? Has it ever been anything like that?
I'll let you.
Not really, because, you know, I hate to say it, the labels here, you know, there's so many artists that, you know, and I mean, even with the States, but obviously the US, they have a bigger budget. You know, Canadian labels don't have that big budget, and they're 5 years too late with Drake. Like, oh, we want to find the next Drake. Well, you can't find the next Drake. Drake's Drake. So, but Canada still lives in that rock and roll mentality where, you know, they
even though urban music is really at the forefront, but it's still still behind.
It's still behind
the industry, not the young kids who are out on the street making music.
No, the young kids are doing it, and what they're doing is they got like social media on lock. So they got like the 6 Buzz and these type of you know, like our Canadian versions of like World Star on lock. So when you get those big platforms, social media wise, promoting your music for you, you know, and giving you that love, why do you need the label? Because the labels can't get that exposure. And you know, so it's kind of like the pressure is really on the labels now to start doing better.
Otherwise they're going to shut down, because really the Canadian record labels really they really just become a distributor of American and international content. You know, because why do kids, like Luke said, why do kids want to sign with them when they have a bigger advance themselves? Because they're either street kids or they got like rich parents and they could do it all themselves, either with street money or mom and dad's
Well,
money.
because look, when you look at Drake, when you look at Drake's story, and it's not much different than today. You just, if you have money, you can get the biggest rappers on your album, right? If they like your shit, and then from there, boom, like you can do your own. That's
but also, and this is good. Like I think Canada it's a blessing and a curse, because there's a lot of grants here. We have a lot of arts grants that are given to artists. Okay. But what I really, and this is just our opinion, we don't get grants really. Like we had one years ago, like 10 years ago. We never saw the money because we were signing Universal, and our management company was also a record label. They got the money. Obviously, I'm sure on paper they said money went to this and this and that, but even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, we were self-sufficient and everything was done in our home studio, different house, different studio, but we've always been self-sufficient. So we never saw that 40 or 60K that was supposed to be for our project. But we're not rats. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, go to say, yo, man, where's that money? Like Lucas and I are like, okay, we're not gonna cry over spilt milk. We got to keep the roller coaster, keep moving up the mountain. But a lot of people in this country that have been, successful or able to put out projects, they don't put out projects unless they get government money, and we don't wait for grants. Like our partner, he applies for grants and we always get turned down. And maybe, I think in many ways, because we're not political as well. Like, we don't go to the parties and we don't kiss people's ass and go there. We're not phony. Like, we're family men. We Premium Pete says it on, it's presence over presence. We don't care about going to parties and getting a stupid photo with some fake models. Like, we're with our kids and we're in the studio and we're talking with it just, like, maybe that's a curse for us because we're not getting these grants, but I'd rather say we're doing it on our own, which we're doing it with our own money.
Most of the artists that have made it from Canada internationally, it's kind of, and I'm not putting us in that same category, because these guys have achieved international stardom, but the pathway is the same. Might have taken us a little longer, only because we chose to be fathers present to our families, first.
We turned down a lot of opportunities.
We turned down a lot of opportunities in ways of, like, us moving to LA for a couple of years to do music. But when you have kids that are like 6 months old and a 1-year-old, we're going like, it might take longer, but we can still do what we got to do here and still be able to open that door over here behind the studio. Everything's behind this camera, and open that door and go tuck the kids in, give them kisses. Adrian and his family live a minute away, literally a minute and a half away, which is great. So now they're getting.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
Sorry. But the Drakes and all these guys, they didn't get the support from Canada. They didn't get that. They all moved. They all got the love from the U.S. And then Canada goes, "Welcome, our great Canadians, The Weeknd." I have a story about The Weeknd. Funny enough, like inside story, like when he had his first big gig, because his mixtape blew up, right? And that's kind of where Weeknd got his
balloons or whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of those beats, Drake took a lot of those beats, and that's where there was a bit of a, like, there's no beef between the guys, but a lot of those beats that Drake took for him was supposed to be on Weeknd's project and all this kind of stuff. But Weeknd did a show at this famous club in Toronto called the Mod Club, and
it shut down sadly because of
COVID shut down. Yeah, but it was like 3-4 blocks, people waiting to get in. This guy, Weeknd was a nobody yet. Nobody knew him, but he was bubbling. Who came?
But Americans, I have to say, Americans are always on the pulse.
Yeah. So let me finish my story. Yeah. I mean? Well, I'm just about to say that if you let me. No. But he's right. So who was there? Every head A&R of every label in the U.S. Diddy couldn't make it, but he had somebody from Bad Boy there. Diddy called him, grab a phone, passed it to him, and from what I heard, Weeknd, he hadn't hardly done any live shows.
That was one of his first.
That was one of his real,
if not his first real live show.
Yeah,
like in front of a big audience.
And the Canadian, I hate to say it, the Canadian white A&R guy from one of these labels is going, I don't get it. I don't get it. Dude, what the fuck is there to get? There are hundreds of people outside wanting to see this independent cat. You should have done everything in your power.
I think but
that's the Canadian way.
But I also think a lot of it is, I think, and maybe I'm going to sound a little controversial saying this, I think a lot of it is, in a way, racism. Because maybe like the old guard, you know, the old guard can't fathom, they can't fathom that a young black kid has got a fucking 500 people lined up on the street in Little Italy to see him. You know, and that's a really hard pill to swallow. Like, I know musicians and people go, no, man, we're in music, we're artsy. Racism and systemic racism is in every business, even in a business that should not be based on color and ethnicity.
And I think,
you know, so I think that has to do with it
for
too.
sure. But we live in a rock and roll country still, where like the essence of it is good old grassroots, like, you know, almost like, you know, if we're thinking of America. Well, Canada doesn't have the accent, but it's Canada, eh? And they don't get it why everybody, like, if it was a white rock group, the guy would have went, let's sign them. Let's sign this. We got people outside. But when it was this
young black kid,
young black kid
with all hair, you know,
talking about like popping pills and all the subliminal getting high shit. This like guy that should have been, you know, 6, 7 years. You know,
it's okay. Good for the weekend and then for holding up.
But that's
now he's next level, man. He's on Mars now.
That's what it is. So when Adrian and I have gotten rejection from labels here in the past, or, you know, people not interested in what we're doing, but then you get, you know, a Chuck D putting our music, wanting to promote the music, and you get a, you know,
DJ Premier
go, you know, just saying, yo, I love these 3-4 joints on the album, I'm gonna play them on my show. That is worth more than gold than some unknown A&R who has never done really signed anything really of any effort from here. You know what I mean? So we know that we're on the right trajectory of where we want to be, because the right people are giving us the love right now for this.
You're gonna wish you never had us on your show, man.
We always shut the fuck up. I know.
Hey. I mean, the show's called We Need to Talk, so you know.
Yeah.
So has it ever been a time that you read, and from what I just heard, I think the answer is no, but I still ask the question: has there ever been a time where you regretted not either taking a meeting or meeting with one of those Canadian record labels? Because it sounds like from what you all were just saying, it's just like they're always late to the party.
They really are late to the party. Yeah, you're right. The answer is no. I think, you know, obviously we look back on certain things and say, like, maybe we could have handled this a little differently, but maybe if we would have handled it differently, it wouldn't have led us to this point. And I think that's what it all comes down to. Like, even someone's bad decisions leads them to a better place, you know? And I do think there's a higher power. Like, we're not super religious, but I do think, man, like, there's ancestors up there looking out for us. Like, you know, certain things that we thought was going to be the jackpot, but, you know, maybe it's like our grandfather or our grandmother saying, you know what, boys, you think that's it, but it's not. You're going to get into trouble. You're going to mix with the wrong crowd. No, it's going to take longer, but this is the way. You really see that as you get older. I think, you know, we're more in tune with our environment, and we definitely can read situations better. Okay. And I think, like now, if we make the same mistakes second time, third time, then we deserve to get slapped out. But like, I think we really have it. You know, we walk into a situation and we can assess it right away, and we telepathically with each other, just our eye signals and stuff could say, yo, this is a shitty situation, or yo, let's jump in. This is going to be good.
Okay. So then, this is one question that I have. If you all had to do, let's say a rap battle, not necessarily a versus, but, you know, with like, you know, Cassidy, you know, somebody like that. If you have to do a rap battle, which one of you would be the one that could take on or would take on that battle? Not necessarily
Adrian.
But, okay.
He would. I'd fail miserably. Like, okay. Because it's funny, as when we were kids, and we've had like moments like ciphers and shit like that in stairwells at school, or we were in Detroit filming a video with Obi Trice, and there was this battle, like a fun battle, and Obi was watching just like as the chairman, as and Adrian was taking them, and he's like, yo, man, Adrian taking y'all. And so I was always the beatboxer, right? Like nobody gives us love for going for fucking 3 hours, right? For 3 hours doing the same shit while these guys go, and then I'm in the kid, and then I flip it into and you're just going.
But I think
But he's the guy.
But we're like, and we've had shows like in the past where like, people have talked, like, or someone's thrown something on stage and we had to deal with it. Like I remember we were real young, like early teens. And we were playing at this place called Ricky Joe's, and someone said something in the back. My brother stopped playing. He's like, "Yo, like you were ready to go." Like Lucas was like,
shout out to our cousin Justin. Yeah, he was playing drums. I was playing keyboards, and some guy said something, so I just stopped playing. And I said, "If you think you say, something like, why don't you come up here and play, motherfucker?" And then the guy, my cousin had his drumsticks like ready.
No, but we had it.
But the Montreal gig was the one where you.
Yeah, there was a couple of gigs, but we once in Montreal we were playing and some guy threw like a Kleenex, like he threw like a paper towel or something on stage, and I started dissing him, and I was talking about your girlfriend's gonna leave with us. He got so embarrassed, and everyone's like, "Oh!" He left. He ran. His girlfriend stayed. But like that. And then we did another show, man, years ago. Is a Canadian Music Week, and it's a big like week in March, like for Canadian music and a lot of American acts and international acts. We played at a legendary place in downtown Toronto called Lee's Palace. And it was an urban night. So it was all hip hop, R&B, reggae, and our old managers were these guys, like they had, shout out to Top Cat Entertainment, Jamaican Cats. And they had that kind of swag, to them, they had the jewelry, they had the chains, they had Lucas and I decked out in the jewelry. We looked like all a bunch of thugs. So, but
wait, I gotta tell a quick story.
Yeah.
It was so funny because nowadays everybody has an Escalade or a Range Rover. Every soccer mom can pull up an SUV, one of these cars. But back in the day when that shit was rare, rare when it was like exclusive. It was like, oh, y'all are balling. So we would go to the gig, like we're humble. So we'd go to the gig in our mother's like Pontiac Sunfire. Right? And the guys were like, no. You park, bro. You park.
No, they're like, yeah.
You park.
They would call Lucas like, nah, Lucky, you have to turn around. We'll meet you at this because we'll meet you at this corner and
park your car
in a big car.
Yeah, park your car in the back that parking lot and meet us on the corner. And then we'd get in their Escalade, pull up to the front of the vent, and look like we're bombing. Yeah. Meanwhile, we got this Pontiac shit.
But we did this one show and like none of the equipment worked.
Oh yeah.
And I think people in the crowd, and the crowd was like, it was a diverse crowd. Toronto is a very multicultural city,
that, yeah.
And so I think just like people love to see traffic gets bad when there's an accident because people like to look at a car wreck. So people were hoping that they were going to witness a car wreck because most people would have ran off stage. My brother and I are like, screw this. We're like, yo, and back then it was DAT tapes. We're like, yo, we don't need the DAT tape. And again, he beatboxed, I freestyle. I'm like, yo, this is like, and we played off the fact that we're Italian. We're like, yo, this is not a show. This is like, we're doing a sound check in like grandmother's basement. Yo, someone order me some pasta. Like we just started.
And it was cool because we had a mutual friend there, and her boyfriend at the time was one of Public Enemy's engineers. Okay. Head engineer,
and he was a drummer.
And
we had met him a couple times.
We had met him once.
He came there like as a pot, like
he came to support us. So when he saw that, he got pissed and he jumped on stage.
But I have to say, that's an American thing, man.
Yeah,
like all our American brothers, like that we work with. Like,
he didn't like the fact that he saw us. They were leaving us out to dry, and we were still rocking it.
So he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna go up there." Like,
he got on the drums and just started
like, And so we're like. And he's like,
the piano still worked, so I started playing.
And then we did our whole show, and it was just like, we're like, so we've never backed down, man. Like,
but that's the difference. But just veering, that's the difference with our generation of hip hop. Mm-hmm. Why Jadakiss's thing was so powerful, because it was like all of a sudden it turned into a real, like jazz. When you look at jazz, like soloing and improv, it all of a sudden became that world, like that real essence of hip hop, not the fucking fireworks, the 1,600 dancers on stage, like all that bullshit where this new generation, first of all, can't do a live show if their life depended on it.
No.
can't freestyle, and all of a sudden it became real raw fucking hip hop again. And we were, I was at home watching it, like getting up, like fucking throwing shit, like, grabbing my kids, like, like that joke, that comedian guy on thing when he hears the song, that guy in the car and he grabs his son and he shakes his,
yeah.
That's what it was. And that's what our era and that
we're like Spice Adams with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
We're like the Italian Spice Adams.
Yeah.
The shit that we do.
New year, new me. Oh, that shit's still the best. When he uses Anita Baker. But you know what I mean? So that's the cool thing. And this generation don't know that level of like that stage, like grinding on a stage for, years until you get it. And then being, so but those are memories. Those are great memories of why we, keep doing this shit and the fun we have with it.
So then my next question would be, who out of all of the artists you worked with, and I'll take KRS-One out of it because of his stature. So out of all of the artists that you've worked with, who's the one artist that you were not surprised because you didn't believe in what you were putting out, but who's the one artist that you were surprised that agreed to jump on a track with you all?
I think probably Dub C.
Yeah, you're 100%.
And now we've become friends with him. Like, we literally had a conversation with him 4 days ago. He's on that show on, what is it, White Walls or something?
No, Snowfall. He's on Snowfall.
Okay.
I think he's also an executive producer.
Yeah, so he's like talking about that with us. Yeah. But him,
why? Because like he is such
he's a real deal.
Yeah, we've always loved West Side Connection, Dub C, the whole thing. You know what I mean? When he did the album with Mac 10 and Ice Cube and shit like that. Why I'm talking and throwing up West C is just kind of like, but he's like when in the song when he goes real C Walk originator, like C he's real fucking Crip, Los
Angeles. He also says like, he goes from
this is more than a feature.
He goes from LA to Canada. I'm bumping. I'm sitting on wagons from LA to Canada with 80 Empire. This is more than a feature. Like we felt that, and even a close homie of ours who does all our artwork, he's like, guys, like when he said that this is more than a feature, like I felt like, he goes, being close to you guys, and this guy knows all the ins and outs and all the ups and downs. He goes, man, I felt that when he said that. Like you felt it was real.
Yeah.
We didn't pay him to say that. He said that because he felt our energy through our phone conversations.
And it was cool, like you said, like it was a bit surreal because he had mentioned that, he had been getting a lot of tracks that he just wasn't, wanted to do. And his assistant said, you got to hear this 80 Empire track. He's like, nah, I got to, a couple of guys want me to do verses. I just don't, and then he heard left, right, left. And he went like, it sparked an energy, goes, that I haven't had in a couple of years. And so for us to hear that, because he has some monumental, Retwist, that Ghetto Heisman album is, for me, one of, it's a West Coast classic.
That was on Def Jam too, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
and so to hear that, and then I get this number on my phone, quick story, I get this number, 310. So I know it's an LA number, but I didn't pick it up because I was doing something and we were in the studio, and then I saw, I should have number called. Didn't answer it. Nobody left a message. So I said, I wonder if it was Dub C. My gut thought maybe it was Dub, because the manager said that he did want to talk to us on the phone. He goes, Dub actually doesn't do this. He wants to take over now. I'm out of the picture. He wants to. And I literally say, hey, I'm sorry. I saw this number yesterday. Is this Dub? And he literally writes, West up, like it was like, right. So
we got to tell that other stuff,
right, and then
with the Giants.
Yeah, and then I'll let you tell that. Yeah, and then we got on the phone. We had such an incredible conversation, like real talking. And he, what I loved was like he's seen some shit. He's gone through shit. He's had like these high successes of music, and he said, no,
he's down to earth.
And Adrian and I, the way we're speaking to you is the way we speak to everybody. It's not like, when there's a rapper, we put on a, what up, man? It's 80. No, we don't, like, that's just preposterous. You know what I mean? And he goes, no, you and your brother are gangster because you put out real music. You're real. You're true to your craft. You're true to the culture. You're actually like what, God bless Crooked Eye, who's another, I could put him in the same with Dub C. but it's like you guys are doing it the right way. You're actually wanting to put something towards the culture, something meaningful. That means a lot coming from guys like these that have paved the way for artists like ourselves and other artists. So to hear that from a guy like that, it was surreal to kind of go, fuck, man, we're talking a Dub C. Like that's just on a level where he's like, yo, man, I want to come to Canada. When you guys come to LA, we got to connect. We got to do more music. I got to, you know, I'm just going, me and him are looking at each other going, this is fucking weird in a good way. This is surreal right now. Cause I don't know how many times I played Walk Walk. When we sing you Walk West March.
Well, when we got the verse,
when
we got the verse, Lucas sent it to me. He just sent it to me on WhatsApp. I took my kids in the car, and like we live near Niagara, like so Niagara Parkway. Like if we drive 15 minutes, then we're at Niagara Falls. So we drove on the Niagara Parkway all the way to Niagara Falls just to listen to it. My kids are like, I kept on rewinding it, and I'm like, girls, you know, and then again, I was sick, all of May, and then like, so we got this verse I think in August. So even like June and July were rough months for me, even August, because I'm like getting my breathing's back, and then my lung collapsed. So like that night, I'm like, we got to celebrate, man. And we're just in the car with my kids because they know all the hip hop we listen to, like, because of what we listen to, right? Like my youngest daughter, one of her favorite songs is Black Kennedy by Commons Group. If I was a Kennedy, I'd be a Black Kennedy, black car, black tux. This is Black Symmetry. You know, my young daughter.
It's a beautiful night.
Yeah, it's a beautiful night. That's my youngest daughter's favorite tune. And like, you'd look at my daughter and think they're gonna like Taylor Swift or some shit, right? Like just because of the way, like, my wife's half Trinidadian, half German.
I'm never.
And I'm obviously Italian, so that Trini blood and then the Mediterranean blood. But my kids totally like are blue, like dirty blonde hair and blue eyed. It's just funny genetics or DNA, whatever. But again, like stereotypes, they would look at my kids, but my kids like all the rap stuff. Like we get in the car. I'm like, do you want to hear your grande? They're like, no, Dad, put on KRS-One. Like they're like,
So just so I can do you all justice, because I can go over these questions forever. But so with your latest album, what was your process like? Putting it together. Was it? Because I saw some of your other albums, Legacy and different things like that. What separates this album, your latest album, from all of the other albums?
I think a lot of shit went down in 2021, good and bad, health-wise, health-wise specifically. And so I think, a lot of people because I know it sounds funny, but like I still get like, I never had anxiety or panic attacks in my life. This stuff's given me, like, there's days I'll be watching TV and there'll be a hospital scene, or not even a hospital scene. It'll just be something in the TV show that it reminds me of the fact that there was a good 3 weeks where I couldn't breathe on my own. I was hooked up to 2 tubes in my nose. And so it really it gets me kind of like, you won't think physically anything's wrong with me, but inside I'm like, oh shit, I can't breathe. And my brain's telling me you can't breathe, even though I can breathe fine. Yeah. So I think the fact that we were able to put this album together, even through all of that and that physical and mental sickness, to like still triumph over that and say, listen, like we have to battle through the bad times, because bad times are inevitable, but the good times could be greater if we battle through. And I think that's what it was. We had our dad, like on I Ain't Looking Back, like our dad's on there, and we're like, we didn't want to wait with this, like some people would say, yo, you have a new album, drop it in the new year, so it's a new thing. It's like, now if we would have dropped it in the new year, it would have already, but it was just like, no, we rep this, like it's a full album. We're repping this for months. And I think, I just think there was a different energy. Like we love the Legacy album. This is this had
a deeper meaning. It was like a bit of a fuck you as well, in there on a lot of these tracks. And then like the album starts off really hard, really angry kind of, right? And then it starts to slowly kind of, and end with the brilliant John Connor on Stand for Something. Yeah, because it kind of is that way. Like we end it with like, are we naive? Like did we stand for something? When we're all, when the dust settles, did we stand for something great? Not even just as musicians, but as people, as human beings,
and so yeah, I think with this one, and I just think the messaging too, like it's just ourselves. Like we have to wake up, I think, regardless if you're us, if we're yourself, if it's a girl, if it's someone who's 20, someone who's 35, like every day, like you got to walk like you're a giant. Every day you got to act like you run shit. Every day you got to clap and bravo for yourself. Every day you got to live like you're anthemic, you're iconic. Every day you got to live hardcore, like the Sizzler track. Salute me. Like it's really like it's a mantra of life. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create these anthemic songs that we think are anthemic with these iconic people, but for it to kind of be a roadmap for people to go, yo, man, like, yeah, like when you're feeling down, put on Walk with the Giants and snap yourself back out of that funk and say, shit, I can do this. Like, it's,
punch your neighbor if you want with that song.
Yeah.
I don't like the way you parked your car today.
Now, sorry, man, I know we talked too much. We got to tell you a story. So we have artwork.
No, go ahead.
We have artwork for Walk with the Giants, and our buddy sends it. We're like, yo, this is amazing. So we sent it to this guy, M80. Shout out to M80. He A&R'd the project. He sends it to Kurupt because he manages and does a lot of stuff for Kurupt. He's like, yo, for M80, he's like, yo, man, this artwork
approved.
Is
love it.
Incredible. Approved. Luke sends it, emails it to MC8. To MC8, and you know MC8's got the catchphrase Gia.
Yeah.
You know, so his email back to Lucas is Gia.
Yeah,
so he approved it.
If I said, so everything's good, brother, he goes, his last email was official.
Because that's what he goes, Gia, blue stamp official, you know, like, so it's just like, again, like, you know,
iconic.
Like it's that's iconic, man.
No pun intended, anthems and icons.
But that's like, iconic. Like even the email response is like, these cats are true to their form. Like listening to Dub, like talking with Dub C, even we had a conversation with 4 days ago, it was like talking to a coach. Like he was talking about COVID. He's like, yo, man, like this is a design, like this is a greater plan. This is happening, regardless of what we believe on politically, whether we're left and right. This shit's going down. Fellas, keep it, lay low, stay safe,
stay healthy.
You know, stay healthy. We gotta hustle through this shit. But it's like, that's like, I feel like I'm like we're in the Super Bowl and this is like John Madden telling us like, yo, like it was just so inspiring. And I'm like, yo, this is a guy we grew up like listening to, and now like he's coaching us like this on the phone. You know, this is incredible. Like that's worth more than if someone pulled up to our house with a Ferrari. I'm being honest. Like
after the call, I went into my family room. I took my shirt off and was running around. My wife's like, "What the fuck happened? What?
So
put your shirt back on. You look fat. Come on."
I have a couple more questions, but I will say this before I get to the next questions. I'd love to have you guys back on. It's so much more that I want to go over.
Absolutely.
Listen, man.
Listen, next time, and now that I know, next time I'm gonna bring a little drinks and we can sip as we talk.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So one question, I say probably two, maybe three more questions. So one question. So outside of Drake, I just pushed Drake.
Sure.
And I'm just talking hip hop more than R&B, because I know there's The Weeknd, there's Justin Bieber, and I think isn't Party Next Door from Canada also?
Party Next Door from Canada.
Okay, so I'll push them to the side. So outside of those artists, do you think that that Canada gets the respect that it deserves in terms of, I'm talking more hip hop, because on the R&B side, I think they do because of Bieber and The Weeknd.
Yeah.
So on the hip hop side, do you think you all get the respect that you deserve?
I don't think in the area of rap that we're doing, you know, again, like you said, more of the mainstream stuff. Absolutely. And if you hear a lot of what's going on in the city right now, you would think like you're listening to like kids from like Brooklyn who are doing drill, or from Chicago. Like it sounds the same. Like it's the same. It's that beat and they're all dancing with, you know, it's kind of like that one dance, like balancing on one leg, like the, who's the, like Pop Smoke. That thing, and it's very nasally. Like the Toronto has a very distinct sound.
Yeah.
It's very like it really, and I'm not even making fun. It is a distinct sound. I think for like bars, when it comes to like, you know, that grimy, it doesn't have that. Listen, there's the Toronto, Canada has an underbelly. There's street culture. Absolutely, it exists. It exists all over the world, but you know, there's more of a history of oppression when you think of, you know, pockets of the United States. You know, like a Flint, Michigan is a tough ass city. It's not me like ask anybody, you know, Buffalo, and because we're so close, we've gone to Buffalo, but we were spending a lot of time in Buffalo before the pandemic. It can be a tough place if you don't know where you're going. We never felt scared or anything, but we were with cats who
are from the areas and
who allowed us to come in those areas. And we're in the car with them or following them, and we felt safe. Now, if you're a visitor visiting, you might not feel safe just because it's a tough exterior, and not because of people or the way people look like. When there's physical decaying of buildings, then that's anybody. It doesn't matter. Like if you close your eyes and open up, you're like, holy shit, is a war just gone on? And I think this happens in you know, especially in North America, when you take big industries out of industrial, like cities like Detroit, you take the car factories away, you know. Buffalo had a lot of like the cereal, like Wonder Bread, Post cereal. You could just go to downtown Niagara Falls, 20 minutes from where we are, or St. Catharines. Like we have Harriet Tubman's church. Obviously she was American, but when she came here during the Underground Railroad, there's like a street called Geneva where her church is. And like, to me, that should be a landmark that should be celebrated, should be tours. Because I know the older women in the church, it's a Lutheran church, they're trying to get money, like to make the church back to its former glory. But if you see the street where it's on, it's like it's spooky. Like
it's a tougher area.
It's a tougher area, right?
It's like 10 minutes from here.
So, but it's like that physical decay,
but
you know.
But back to the music side. More of the trappy, that kind of lane. There was a respect for the artists in Canada, in Canada, but for the real lyrics, the friggin' like the, you know, the boom bap, the grime, the Griselda type. You know, it's very few between here.
But then there's a guy, I think Vancouver, almost like the west coast of Canada, I think they almost get a little bit more respect because there's a camp there like the Stomp Down Killers, guys like Mercules, guys like Snack the Ripper. These guys are celebrated by, you know, like guys like Tech-9 do records with them. K-Slay, prayers for K-Slay, man. I know he's fighting COVID right now, but like K-Slay put out that project months ago in the summer, and he had a song called 100 Deep. It's literally a 45-minute rap video. Where it starts with Sheep Luge. Mercules, he's a big white dude from Vancouver. He's on there. So it's just like, I think the west coast of Canada gets a little bit more respect for that stuff,
for more of that.
And then like the battle rap shit is big here, like because King of the Dot is a big thing, and they're Canadian, but they go to LA, they go all over the place.
They go all over.
But I think like in terms of like camps and specific camps, we haven't gotten that respect here yet. And I think a lot of the young kids, there are kids doing that type of music, but I think a lot of people are following the footsteps of the Weekends, because that's a little bit more glamorous to do, right? Like the Drakes and the Weekends, and it's the street rap and the boom bap stuff. It's something that you really have to commit to it if you're gonna do it.
And not to take, because the Weekend is, he's great, talented, and he's huge. But I think it's easier to, you know, with auto-tune, it's easier for a half-ass singer to do auto-tune. You know, do a few melodies like that, and to do that type of shit and be off, and people go, yo, that's sick, that's fire, like the Toronto man's damn, yo, that's fire, yo, like, and you're going, that shit's garbage, man. Like, but to do real rap, you got to have a little more talent,
and you got to put and it's a little bit, you're putting yourself out there to be critiqued, I think, a little more, because that other music different. It's more of a vibe. But like, again, like with Run Shit, like when I heard KRS's verse, I'm like, shit, like I have to come correct, man. Like, and that's why even with the Collapsed Lung, like I had to like I couldn't half-ass it. So I had to, but it came quick, man. Like, and I went in there with one take. Like, you know, some songs might take 2 takes, 3 takes, 5 takes. That song literally was like, yo, run it. Like I wrote it like so fast. I'm like, yo, we'd be some hip hop ambassadors north of the states, a place they call like, it just boom, you know.
Yeah. So this will be my last question for you all. So what's next? Is there another project, or what are you all envisioning for 2022? Because your last album came out, was it December 21st?
10th.
Yeah.
10th, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Came out on the 10th, yeah.
Of 21.
Well,
Yeah.
we got I mean, right now Swifty put out a Detroit Life Part 2.
Swifty McVeigh. He was
Swifty
with D12.
McVeigh of D12, and we have two joints on there that we produced and featured on one. Adrian singing the hook on one, and then we produced two of them. So that's coming out this
The 16th, I think, is a Saturday.
I think it's a Saturday, yeah. So we have that. Then we have a sophomore album with Swifty, a joint album. We have like 25, 26 tracks on there.
Oh, wow.
It's called Gray Rose, and that's coming out probably like springtime. Spring, pushing like end of spring,
Okay.
probably around there. We're gonna put out a like a boom bap project, just like 4 or 5 records, with some New York MCs. We're still it's still the tadpole stages. We have most of the tracks that we have in mind. It's just now putting, pad to paper. We have some stuff, hopefully comes out with Bone Crusher. We have a couple of tracks with Bone.
We have a record, and you being a guy who loves R&B, we have a record with Bone Crusher, CeeLo Green, and Music Soul Child.
Oh,
I hope to God, and we did a show. We did this record like 4 years ago in Atlanta. We performed it, and like we're talking with music, like we're like, and music's like, man, I want to work with y'all. I want to do a project with y'all, and then like because we don't live
Out of sight, out of mind.
out of sight, out of mind, right? Like that's what. But we have this record that Bone is like, yo, man, this is my comeback. Like this year, I'm releasing all of this stuff. So we're hoping this record comes out because it's so dope. And I'm like sing rapping on it. Music Soul Child, like his harmonies are just like, when we heard it for the first time, we're like, it's like, and then CeeLo is rapping on it. So he's going back to his Goody Mob days. He's not singing on it, he's rapping on it. But it's like, right, he's got that voice like that. And then he's very like that when he's rapping.
So there's so there's that, and then we have a really jazzy hip hop project. It's still kind of like halfway in between working with Doodlebug, See Knowledge from Diggable Planets.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of irons in the fire, and then who knows what other kind of stuff pops up.
Crooked I were supposed to do some stuff. Dub C we're supposed to do some stuff. We've got some film stuff that is, and I think just because I think the moral of the story to anybody, even yourself, like doing these incredible podcasts that you're doing, the more that you do, the more people are going to hear of you, and the more they're going to want to come on. So there might be someone that you grew up listening, like you mentioned earlier, Neo.
Yeah.
You know what? Who's to say this year you're not going to have Neo? Like we were we're one of the first musical guests, and the last musical guest is Neo. Like, because the fact that you're putting it
out in the universe.
You're putting it out in the universe for you, man. But
I appreciate it and I receive it.
Absolutely, man. But like that's the thing. Like the more that is out, the more you can have people that go, yo, like, because we have people that are like, yo, but then they're discovering other shit that we've done because now they're looking us up and they're like, yo, oh man, like, so that's the beauty, man. Just really do think like if you're a good person, if you work hard, I think God or the universe is going to throw blessings, all blessings, all of us our way this year that we never thought we would see.
I feel I need like the G.I. Joe shirt on now. Right? It's like the end of G.I. and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. No, but you know what, man? Like we'd love to come back and when the Swifty project's around that time, and we could bring Swifty on as well.
Hey, you're more than welcome.
That would be dope. You know,
like I said, going into this, I was, I can show you now. I wrote down, I don't know if you can see it.
Man.
And I don't think I used any of the questions. I told you before we came out, I told you I freestyled my questions.
Yeah. No,
so
I
have them just in case I got stuck, but I didn't, the conversation flowed perfectly.
That's awesome.
So again, I really do want to thank you all for your time. And like I said, you all are welcome back. I'm an email or DM away.
Yeah.
When your next project comes out or whatever,
Absolutely.
hit me up.
We'd love to.
Or, I'll reach out to you if I have, hip hop conversation or even just regular conversation, bring you on. And because like I said,
absolutely, man.
Love the guests that like to talk. I've had, done episodes where people are just quiet and it's just like,
you're like,
All right,
We're big
let's wrap
mouths.
this
Yeah.
up.
You're like, what are you? The Jason mug in the back there? Like
Yeah,
Jason Voorhees? What are you, quiet? You don't say shit?
No, but we're big mouths and we're passionate. We like to talk, and we're not afraid to talk about politics and like things that people
Nothing's
might be scared.
nothing's off the table.
Like really quick, like, and then I swear.
Oh, here we go.
No, I swear we'll shut up. Like the last album, we had a song called "To Kill a Black Man," and people said, "Why'd you have a song called "To Kill a Black Man?" And we're like, we were infuriated. Like, first of all, police killing black men has been going on way before George Floyd.
Yeah.
It just because of the pandemic and the fashion in which it was done, it like everybody caught it on cell phone. Everyone was watching it.
Yeah.
So that like for us, it was just like we were in Los Angeles when Zimmerman got off on the Trayvon Martin. Like my brother and I, like we were in the Howard Johnsons in Santa Monica. I'm sure we punched a bloody wall, like and probably put a chair to mask the thing so we wouldn't have to play in church. No, because we were so pissed. So it's like we can't be inspired by black culture, inspired by black art, be the recipients of black culture, but then when shit goes down, quiet. We sit on the bench and say shit all because then we're the biggest like imposters. So like during COVID, am I gonna go in March? No, I'm not, because look, I got sick. I was paranoid before I got sick. So we're not gonna go March because I don't like big crowds even before COVID. But like for us as musicians, that was our form of protest, to say we're two white dudes talking about how this is bullshit. And we got some of our black friends to talk about their experience, because we can only express empathy as an ally. We have no idea how it is to be a black man growing up in the United States, walking out our front door. We live a different reality. We could be dressed the bloody same, listen to the same shit, think that we're down with whatever, but we experience a different reality. So we're like, we had to put this on music. So like even like Italian dudes who might mess with us because we're Italian, to say, yo, you think you're discriminated being Italian? Nah, dude. Like, yeah, we went through discrimination, but not like this. This is on a whole other effing level. This is discrimination and racism on friggin' steroids and on bloody like hyper drugs. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, man.
So again, you all definitely go check out the album Anthems and Icons, correct?
Yep.
All
You
right.
got it, man.
Sure, make sure I didn't screw the name up. See, there we go.
Anthems and Icons.
And shout out to Kick Up Your Heels Entertainment, to Katrina and to Rachel for setting this up, man. Thank you, guys.
Yes, I definitely appreciate Katrina and Rachel because, talked to them a couple of times. But do yourselves a favor, people, go out, check out the album, 80 Empire, Anthems and Icons, available on all streaming services. And like I said, you have this, the Legacy, and there's a couple more, things to check out. So don't just stop at one. So, again, thank you all for coming on and doing this interview with me. And like I said, this is just one of many. This is just the start.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man.
So I look forward to having you all on again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and avoid
same with you,
Omicron and everything as much as we can.
I'm a chameleon, Deltacron, Decepticon,
Polygons.
Definitely. So this is We Need to Talk 23 signing off. Thanks again, gentlemen.
Thank you, brother.
Salute, man.
Peace.